Have you ever found yourself with a task, maybe a report or something, and you've given yourself what feels like plenty of time, maybe a whole week,
Oh, definitely.
and
Yeah.
then poof, that week is just gone, and you're scrambling, and the task feels way bigger than it should?
Happens all the time. Or the opposite, right? Where you have almost no time, a crazy deadline.
Yeah, and somehow you pull off a miracle, get it done right at the absolute last second.
Exactly. It's a feeling I think pretty much everyone recognizes.
Mm,
That sense of work just swelling up to eat whatever time you give it.
it really does. And this isn't just some weird quirk we all have. It actually has a name. Parkinson's law.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than just a catchy phrase. It's a really sharp observation about how we behave, about productivity. It's genuinely reshaped how we think about managing time.
It really has.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into the mind behind it all. C. Northcote Parkinson. He was a British naval historian and author, and his satirical takes became famous because, honestly, they just hit so close to home.
Yeah, they did. And our mission here in this deep dive is to really unpack Parkinson's law. We want to explore where it came from, understand its core ideas, both for us as individuals and for organizations.
Right.
And then, maybe most importantly, give you some practical strategies, tools to actually harness it, for your own productivity.
Exactly. Getting more done, hopefully avoiding that feeling of being overwhelmed and maybe, learning faster and better.
But also, we need to look at the flip side. When pushing this law too hard might actually will backfire.
Good point. Okay, let's get into it. All right, let's start with the man himself, C. Northcote Parkinson. I mean, most people just know the name from the law, right? But he sounds like he had a pretty incredible life.
Oh, absolutely. Cyril Northcote Parkinson was incredibly prolific, a British naval historian, wrote something like 60 books in his lifetime, born 1909, died 93.
$60.
Yeah. And interestingly, his famous law is actually quoted on his epitaph, so it clearly defined him in many ways. But his insights, they really came from this fascinatingly diverse background.
Okay, so what kind of background? How did his experiences lead him to this unique view?
Well, his career covered a lot of ground. He had serious academic chops, BA from Cambridge, PhD from King's College London, both in naval history, won prizes for it even.
Impressive.
But then there was military service, too. Commissioned into the Territorial Army, rose to major by the end of World War II.
Okay.
And after the war, he went into global education. He was notably the Raffles Professor of History at the new University of Malaya in Singapore back in the 50s.
Ah, so real-world experience in different systems.
Exactly. Academia, military, international education.
Mm.
It gave him this really unique perspective on how people behave and, crucially, on how bureaucracies tick.
It definitely sounds like he wasn't just stuck in some, ivory tower. So with all that going on, how did he actually arrive at this law? Where did it first appear?
Well, the first time he published it was actually in The Economist, November 1955. It was a humorous piece, satirical.
Satirical. Okay.
Yeah, and it was aimed squarely at public administration,
Mm.
the civil service. He was critiquing its efficiency, or rather its inefficiency,
Yeah.
particularly how headcount and costs just kept going up.
Okay. So it started from watching bureaucracy in action. That makes total sense given his background.
Precisely. The article then got expanded into his best-selling book in 1957, Parkinson's Law, and he just kept satirizing government bureaucracies in it. The whole idea stemmed directly from his time in the British civil service, watching firsthand, as he put it, how bureaucracy ticks. He saw staff numbers grow regardless of the actual work needing to be done.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's really unpack the core idea of Parkinson's law itself. What's the official definition?
Well, the classic line is, work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion.
Simple but powerful.
It is, and Parkinson himself called it a commonplace observation. He wasn't claiming it was some rigid scientific thing, more like an axiom, a truth we observe about productivity, or often the lack of it.
Yeah, that just resonates so strongly. What's the psychology there? Why do we do that?
It's interesting, isn't it? We just seem hardwired to use all the time we're given for something, even if, maybe deep down, we suspect it could be done faster.
Right.
And the task itself, its perceived complexity, or maybe even its actual complexity, it just seems to grow to fill that time slot. It's often less about doing more actual work and more about the mental energy, the stress, the perceived burden kind of inflating to match the deadline.
The example that always pops into my head is, school holiday homework. You get 6 weeks for an essay that maybe takes, 2 or 3 days of solid work?
Exactly. And yet somehow It stretches across the entire 6 weeks, and you still end up doing it in a mad rush right at the end.
Totally.
Parkinson actually had a great funny illustration of this in his original essay. He described an elderly lady whose only task for the entire day was to mail a postcard. And because she had all day, the task just ballooned. She'd spend, half an hour looking for the postcard, an hour finding her glasses, maybe 90 minutes writing it.
Oh my God.
Then time agonizing over whether to take an umbrella, walk into the post office, mailing it, the whole day consumed by this one tiny thing. It just shows how easily a simple task can get overcomplicated if time isn't constrained.
That paints a picture. But you mentioned earlier there was sort of a second meaning to the law beyond just individual tasks. Something about bureaucracy.
Yes, absolutely. While we often focus on the personal productivity angle, getting our own tasks done, Parkinson's original essay really hammered this other point. The number of workers within public administration, bureaucracy, or officialdom tends to grow, regardless of the amount of work to be done.
Regardless of the work. Wow.
Yeah. He argued this growth was driven by two forces, as he called them. First, officials want subordinates under them, not rivals next to them.
Okay. Building empires.
Sort of. And second, officials tend to make work for each other. More reports, more meetings, more memos to justify their existence and the existence of their subordinates.
So they're actively creating work just to keep busy and justify having more staff. That sounds almost counterproductive to the actual mission.
Well, that was his critique.
Okay.
He wasn't shy about citing real-world examples either. He pointed to the British Admiralty and the Colonial Office, showing how their staff numbers grew even as the Navy's fleet shrank and the number of colonies dwindled.
No way.
Yeah. He even noted that the Colonial Office reached its peak staff numbers right around the time it was being folded into the Foreign Office because there were hardly any colonies left to administer. It's a pretty stark, maybe slightly cynical observation about how organizations can behave.
It really is. And I think I've heard some related sayings, like corollaries to Parkinson's law, that capture similar ideas.
Oh, definitely. There are a few popular ones. One is the Stock-Sanford corollary, which goes, if you wait until the last minute, it only takes a minute to do.
Yeah.
Captures that last-minute rush idea.
Yeah, felt that one.
And then, very relevant today, there's the one about data. Data expands to fill the space available for storage. Same principle, different context. We just tend to fill whatever container we're given, whether it's time or disk space.
Okay, so if work naturally expands to fill the time we give it, what's the big mental shift? What's the strategy to fight back, for our own productivity?
Well, the core idea is actually beautifully simple. If work expands to fill time, then you just have to reduce the time.
Shrink the container.
Exactly. When you consciously shorten the time you allocate, Parkinson suggested that the complexity of your task will be reduced to its natural state. It's not really about working harder or cutting vital corners. It's about forcing yourself, through time pressure, to do only the necessary work, to focus on what truly moves the needle.
Okay, I like the sound of that. This is where it gets really practical for everyone listening. What are some concrete strategies? How can we actually use Parkinson's law to hack our own productivity?
Right. The first one, and I think maybe the most critical, is set tight but realistic deadlines. Seriously, don't let any task float around with a vague sometime next week deadline.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
We all are. But try challenging yourself. For your next report, your next presentation, whatever it is, maybe aim to do it in half the time you initially think you need.
Half? Wow, okay.
Yeah, or at least significantly less. And the key is you have to treat these self-imposed deadlines as if they're real, as if they're unbreakable. You're basically starving the task of that extra time it wants to expand into.
That feels like a potential game changer right there. No more fuzzy deadlines. What else? What else can we do to compress the work?
Another really effective technique is time boxing. This means allocating very specific, fixed blocks of time for each task on your list. You can use task management apps or even just a simple calendar to map out your day.
So like 9 to 10 a.m., write project brief, that kind of thing.
Exactly like that. It creates this essential sense of urgency because you're forcing the task into a finite, predetermined box. There's literally no room for